Hey guys, it's Optimistic Oliver here. I'm here to tell you about something that I love, something that makes me really happy, something to be positive about. Do you know what I love more than anything? I'll tell you what I love more than anything in the world. I love the British government. Yeah, I love the British government. The British government is the best government in the whole world. They are a model for how all democracies around the world should function. I wish every country in the world could be like the British government. I love it so much. How do I love the British government? Let me count the ways. First of all, I love the way that the British government taxes anyone and everyone in this country. Yeah, because taxation is so great. We have the highest tax burden since the 1970s. In fact, I think it's even higher than that. And as everyone knows, all the big economists say, taxation is how you generate revenue. The more taxes we have, the better. I mean, where do I even start here? First of all, I love the fact that they're taxing private schools. You know, they've increased their taxes for private schools. I especially love this because my mum, right, she works as a teaching assistant for a private school, and she's actually been affected by this because the school that she works at has said to her, sorry, we can't afford to keep you on your current payroll, so we're going to have to cut your hours. So as a result, it means less work for her because they can't afford to pay her for as much. And, well, I mean, that's fair enough, I guess. Yeah, my mum should, why should my mum work more hours than she needs? It's not like there's a cost of living crisis or anything. And that's just the start of it. I love the fact that that we're putting inheritance tax on farmers. You know, because those farmers, man, it's not like they provide a vital service to the domestic economy by growing food. It's not like they're probably the single most useful and critical industry at the heart of every country, and without them, we'd either starve to death or the price of food would go way up. Yeah, no, nothing like that. I'll tell you what it is. Those farmers, they're greedy. Those damn farmers are hoarding all these buckets of cash. And we got to take it back and spend it on our NHS. Yeah, remember, we got a £20 billion black hole and we got to spend it on the NHS. Because the NHS, we can fix the NHS, right? The NHS is kind of terrible, but all we need is just more money and more funding. And where are we going to get that funding? By taking it from the pockets of those greedy farmers. And if those farmers can't afford to pay the inheritance tax, well, tough. What they should do is sell their farmland and give it to BlackRock. Yeah, I love BlackRock. I love those big multi-trillion-pound private equity firms. Now, those companies, yeah, they shouldn't pay any tax. All the tax burden should be on the middle class and the working class. But the really rich companies, you know, they're just let them live. Let them do what they want. And that's the way things should be. On the topic of tax, another thing I want to talk about with tax is council tax. Yeah, because council tax is gonna go up by 25% next month, which is great. Because, you know, I was thinking to myself not long ago, I was thinking, is there a way I can make sure more of my money goes towards the government? And I was delighted to find out that, yeah, so now more of my money is going to go to the government. And I was thinking, you know, the more time I spend around here, I'm thinking to myself, the government, the municipality where I live, Borough Council, they definitely deserve the extra taxes because we're definitely getting value for money. I mean, every single road I drive through has potholes, is either broken or is in need of maintenance or roadworks. There's like 3 main roads through the town centre where I drive through because I work as a postman, and I can't use any of them because they're all blocked thanks to roadworks. And this wasn't even a problem a couple years back, but it is now. But you know what will fix the problem? If we just give the local government, give the local council more money. That's how we solve the problem. We should just, the more taxes we have, the better the system is. Another thing I love is that they're actually thinking of putting taxes on ISAs. Yeah, those savings accounts. I got a stocks and shares ISA and a cash ISA. You know, it's funny to think. I was thinking one day I'd love to save up money, maybe for retirement. But you know what? The hell with retirement. Why shouldn't all my money just go to the government anyway? Because the way that the economy should work is that you should spend the rest of your life working while the government gets to keep all that money that's rightfully yours. That's the way things ought to be. Yeah, to be honest, I love the very idea of tax. You know, some people say that taxation is basically extortion on a national scale. It's basically, if we scaled it down, the idea you're paying money for the privilege of living somewhere, most people would call that a protection racket. You know, something that gangsters do. But what's wrong with that? Why shouldn't we be forced to pay money for the privilege of basically living somewhere? You know, and another thing is, we should pay tax for stuff that we already own, like houses. And you know, even if you live somewhere like in the middle of the woods or somewhere, you should still pay tax anyway, because the government is so good. You should work all your life just to pay money to the tax man, because that's the way things should definitely be. Speaking of tax, you know, another great thing that I love about tax is how we have all these different taxes in the UK, right? We've got national insurance, PAYE, income tax, council tax, VAT, etc., etc. We have all these different taxes, and all the money ends up in the same place anyway. So you see, it's a really well thought out and it's a really clear, articulate, and well thought out system. And it's definitely not in need of an audit or an upheaval or clarification or anything like that. So anyway, that's the first thing I love about the British government. What else do I love about the fantastic, excellent British government? Well, I'll tell you what else there is I love. I also love Keir Starmer. Keir Starmer, man. He's a proper man of the people. He's got a heart of stone. He won't let anybody criticize him or his government. The guy is, some would describe him as a megalomaniac and a tyrant. But you know, I think that's one of his biggest qualities. I love the fact that he basically forced Apple to handing over all their private data of anyone who uses their services. So he can subpoena the data of people who, for instance, criticize the Labour government, and he can send them to prison. And that is definitely, that's the best. That is a sign that we live in a good, healthy democracy. Because you should never be allowed to criticize the government for any reason. You should go straight to prison if you think the Labour government is terrible or incompetent at their jobs, or they're putting in place policies that are ruining the country. Off to prison with you. Speaking of which, and that's especially what I like about Keir Starmer. You know, do you remember last year when we had those evil far-right thugs who were just a bunch of racists? You know, they wanted to kick up a protest about, I don't know, something about all these little girls getting brutally slaughtered by a kid who was the son of Rwandan migrants who hated this country and who wanted to sadistically murder them in the most brutal way possible. Yeah, no, those people should never have been allowed to protest. Everyone knows that in multicultural 21st century Britain, so what if we occasionally had the odd crazy knife-wielding migrant attack? That is part and parcel of living in modern multicultural Britain. And if you don't like that, you can go right to prison. And there was one guy called Peter Lynch who basically accused the police of all being corrupt, and he called them all scum. And what did the police do to him? They sent him right off to prison. They sent him in a prison that was full of Muslim inmates who would have wanted to seriously hurt him or kill him. So he hanged himself. bloody good work, I say. That's how every single person who protests the British government, that's what should happen to all of them. Throw them all in prison. Yeah, we should just chuck anyone who criticizes the British government and their policies of mass immigration and taking in refugees. We should just send them all to prison. That's what I love about our government. What else do I love? Oh yeah, I love the fact that everyone in our government is corrupt. Yeah, like for instance, I love the fact that Boris Johnson threw a massive party while we were all under lockdown, despite the fact that none of us were allowed to leave our houses or even or have anyone come in to visit unless it was a key worker. Yeah, because, you know, one life I always live by is it should be one rule for the elite and another for us. And, and not just Boris Johnson, Keir Starmer as well. He also broke lockdown because while we were all living under lockdown, he had a voice coach, you know, someone who wasn't a key worker, come round his house to give him lessons on how to speak properly. See, that's another thing I love. I love the fact that we have a leader who is so inconfident about the way he speaks, he needs to literally hire a voice coach to teach him how to talk properly. It's not like it's not like all the money that he spent hasn't gone to good use. I mean, whenever I look at him, I'm always thinking to myself, this guy definitely has the voice and the cadence and the appearance of a true statesman. He doesn't seem like a sinister robot or whatever. And he broke lockdown rules. But fair enough. They should be allowed, the people in charge of this country, they should be allowed to break lockdown rules. We, on the other hand, not a chance. And that's that's the thing I love. Speaking of corruption, I also love the fact that our Minister for Net Zero, Ed Miliband, he was basically paid £4 million by one of those private equity venture capital firms, Quadrature, to appoint a woman to the position of climate envoy, who just so happened to serve on the board of trustees for that company. And he didn't declare this in government, which he was supposed to. Because, you know, that's how the things should work. You know, our politicians should be able to take bribes from big companies and big corporations to appoint people who work for those companies in ministerial positions and advance the interests of big business. Because I love big business. I love it when our government works hand in hand with big business to do the bidding of big businesses. You know, look, you got to understand, right? The way a country should be run is it should be those at the top, the elites. They should be able to run the country however they want. They shouldn't just listen to us plebs. You know, having a manifesto and campaign promises and all that, you know, that's all just political posturing. You know, and we don't deserve to have our policies or our promises respected or anything. That's not what politics is all about. Politics is when you say whatever you want to get elected, and then when you're in power, you basically do whatever you feel like. And that's what our current Labour government does. And that's what I love about them. Oh yeah, and another thing I love about the British government is that they are entering into negotiations with the EU to bring us back in. You know, it's funny to think, all those years ago, back in 2016, I voted to leave the European Union, you know, because I was misinformed. I thought I voted leave so that we could be free from EU regulations, so that we could restore control of our borders and bring back national sovereignty. Well, that's what I thought I voted for anyway. But no, it actually turns out I was misled by Boris Johnson and that big red bus. Remember the £350 million a year? Remember that? And I was racist and xenophobic. I was a racist, evil little Englander. So we should just completely undo Brexit and go back to the way things were. And we should never put an issue like this of national importance to public plebiscite ever again. Never have any more referenda. You know, the people just can't be trusted. The people are too thick to make their own decision. We should just let politicians, we should let our elites do all the thinking for us. That's the way, that's the way our government should work. And I love the fact that our government is trying to take away our voice from how we do things. I love the fact that the government is trying to take charge of the country while leaving us out of the proceedings. I truly, truly appreciate that. What else is there that I love about the British government? Oh yeah, I tell you what else I love. I love the fact that there's an energy bill crisis where the price of energy has absolutely skyrocketed. And why have our energy prices gone up so high? Well, first of all, because of the war in Ukraine, because we've basically all put in our money and our effort in supporting Ukraine, and we've put sanctions on those naughty, evil Russians. So what have they done? They've increased the prices of their natural gas reserves. So as a result, we're paying more money to use natural gas. And not just that, we do have coal and oil and stuff, but we're not using them because, remember, we've got a commitment to net zero. Yeah, net zero by 2030. So as a result of both of these policies, the cost of energy is going way up. And I love taxation. I love taxation so much. I give all my money to the government if possible. But I also love the fact that this is compounded with the fact that we're paying more money than we should for energy prices. And I love the fact that we're investing all this public taxpayer money in stuff like solar energy and wind energy, which is kind of useless because we get like 4 hours of sunlight each day in the UK, and the wind turbines just aren't any good. And also, we could invest in nuclear energy or hydroelectric energy, but currently we don't. I mean, maybe we will at some point in the future, but for now, we have the privilege of paying more money for the price of energy. And that's great. I love that. Oh, speaking on the subject of Russia and natural gas, I love the fact that we're paying all this money for NATO and for Ukraine, to prolong and continue the war in Ukraine. Because I love war. Yeah, war is great. Man, I love war so much. I love watching video clips of soldiers getting blown up by drones or mown down by machine guns. I love seeing clips of people's houses getting destroyed. I love seeing the bereaved and sad faces of women and children who become widows and orphans. I think that's real kino entertainment. I mean, I'm not so much a fan of war when it's here, but as long as it's somewhere else, yeah, I love war. Oh yeah, by the way, Tony Blair and Alistair Campbell did nothing wrong. Nothing is more noble than starting a war under false pretenses. And who needs peace, by the way? Peace, rubbish, it's boring. I think the world would be a better place if we all just declared war on each other. Because war, you see, is good for big business. And I love big business. It's good for the economy. Actually, no, it's terrible for the economy. But that's what I love even more about war. All of our taxpayer money is going to funding this war, which, by the way, we don't even have a stake in. But that's a sign that our government is extracting resources from its constituents, from people like us, to advance its own ideological commitments to NATO. And I love that. I love and respect that. God, there's so many other things that I love about our government. I love the fact that they're depressing wages for the working class and the unskilled workers through mass immigration. I love the fact that the pound sterling's value has basically plummeted, especially since 2019 and the pandemic. I love the fact that that we don't have a living wage in this country. And I love the fact that this is all happening in the context of a culture war where ordinary British people are being told that we don't have a history, we don't have a culture. And I love the fact that there's all these illegal immigrants who are living on our government benefits. I mean, you know, back in the previous election, I was thinking to myself, is there a government out there that could represent my interests? See, what do I want? I want my wages to be suppressed by mass immigration and lack of unionization. I want more taxes, you know, and higher energy bills. I want a government that basically tells the state media what to say and what not to say so that they never hold the government to account. I want a government that clamps down on free speech and arrests people and subpoenas their data from Apple if they criticize their policies. I want a government that will safely manage the economic and social decline of this country until we turn into a chaotic cesspit of violence and rancor. And I want a government that will take us headfirst into a war that we don't have a personal stake in, because that's the thing I love, war. And basically, I want a government that will suck all the aspirational energy, all the lifeblood out of its working people. And also, I want a government that's so unpopular and so universally disliked that their leader has something like the lowest approval rating in recent history. A government so unpopular that they got elected on something like 30% of all the available electorate, with one of the lowest recorded turnouts in history. Is there such a government out there that's willing to do all that for me? Well, I'm glad there was. But anyway, yeah, to sum up, I freaking love the British government. The British government is the best government in the world. And if you're British too, then you should pay all your money to the British government because they deserve it. You know, politicians, they don't get enough respect these days. Politicians have basically cracked the code to modern life and modern work. They get to live off a massive, luxurious salary off public expense, off taxpayer dime, and we're all paying for it. We scrubs, on the one hand, you know, people like me who work for a living, we're footing the bill. But that's the way things should be. I love the British government so much, and I hope you love the British government too. I wish, to be honest, I just wish we get rid of elections and let the Starmer government rule this country forever. And I wish that things don't change. And I don't like how over in the United States, they've got a Department of Government Efficiency where they're basically auditing the government and they're trying to cut out unnecessary costs and expenditures, because that's not how the system should work. You don't audit the government should audit you. That's how things should be. I hope that never happens here. Anyway, I'll sign this off by saying I freaking love the British government, guys, and I hope you guys love it too. Anyway, I gotta run off my collection, but I'll see you guys later in another video. This has been Optimistic Oliver, and I love the British government. Take care, everyone.